Hi friends, welcome back to my art studio and my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Kayla and I am a full-time artist now, which is a little crazy. And also, I guess an art YouTuber now. But in about the last 9 months of my life, something really amazing has happened, and it is that after years and years and years of painting and selling my art, I've reached the point where I paint what I want to paint and I post it for sale, and within a couple hours to maybe a day or two, the paintings sell for thousands of dollars. I just finished this painting a few days ago and I posted it up for sale, and the next day, within 24 hours, it had sold for $4,000. In fact, I was selling my artwork for about 7 or 8 years before this point, and I had been able to make a living as an artist full-time for a few years in the past, but it was a really difficult way of making a living. I was selling paintings for $100. I was doing tons of custom work. I was setting up every Saturday at a Saturday market and trying to sell as many prints as I could. I was kind of your typical starving artist, okay? And at that time, I actually had over 500,000 followers online through TikTok and Instagram, but despite having this large following, it did not equate to sales. So I want to make that clear, that having a large following online does not mean that you have a loyal base of clients, collectors, customers, etc. So here is what changed in the last year. I've made a list. Change number 1 is that I stopped doing custom paintings. I actually also stopped doing Saturday markets. I took a break from doing art to survive, and I went back to working a 9-to-5 job. And while I worked, I focused on simply one thing, and that was painting my personal artwork. For a long time, I was doing paint and sips during the weekend. I was doing kids classes. I was so scattered, and I'm doing custom orders over here. I was doing so much painting, but no art. I wasn't actually developing my voice as an artist or my skills. I wasn't painting what I wanted to paint. I was so focused on the money that I was essentially selling my soul. I was painting things I didn't even want to paint. Now, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you have to go back to a 9-to-5 job. This is just something that I noticed really catapulted me forward. Number 2 is I started posting videos on YouTube, and I think this is important because for the longest time I had only posted on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and they were very impersonal. They were just videos of me flipping a canvas around. So people knew my paintings, but they didn't really know me. They didn't know what my voice sounded like. They didn't know how I spoke. They didn't know my sense of humor. They didn't know my soul. They didn't know the essence of who Kayla is. They just know, and I'm sure that you have someone that comes to your mind when you think of the people that you follow online, maybe influencers. There are some influencers that you really feel like you know on a personal level, and then there's some that you're like, I have no idea who you are. I just know what you look like. So by posting videos here on YouTube, I decided to start letting people in on more of who I am and see a more personal side of me as the artist. Although a lot of my first videos were tutorials and art business tutorials, I didn't realize that they would actually end up translating into my painting selling. A lot of my original painting sales now have come from my YouTube audience, which is amazing. Number 3 was sort of out of my control, but it's a result of something that I decided to share with the world. I had a very viral post that got a lot of recognition and millions of views, and got actually posted in a Today article, and it was about why I'm an artist. What influence art had on me as an at-risk youth, as a pregnant teenager, how my art teacher changed my life. And I guess seeing where I started, and the journey that has brought me to where I am, I guess got people more invested in me as an artist, because now I'm not just the 27-year-old painter girl. I'm the 27-year-old painter girl who had a child when she was 15, and her art teacher was so special and was an adult who really made a difference in her life. And so now people are invested in my story and me as an artist, and every artist has their own story, I believe, of why you create, and you have the potential to touch so many people if you're willing to share that part of yourself. For some people, it's really vulnerable, and maybe for you, it's been a struggle with your mental health or a really hard experience you went through as a child that caused you to turn to a creative outlet like art. I think sharing that can get people really invested in you as an artist, which is important because It's so clear in the art world that the value of a piece of artwork comes from the artist. And sometimes it's unfortunate that this is the way it is, because shouldn't our artwork be judged on the merit of its quality alone? But no, that the reason the Mona Lisa is worth $850 million is because it was painted by Da Vinci. Anybody could recreate the exact same replica of the Mona Lisa and it would not be valuable because it isn't the original by the famous artist. It's the reason that seeing your favorite performer perform live is so much more captivating and magical than just watching any old band at your local bar perform. You assign value based on who the artist is. Change number 4 that happened is that I found a unique genre style that I like to paint, and it has been underwater portraits. And up until I really discovered that I love painting these underwater portraits, I was kind of bouncing around all the time with what I would paint. I was just finding images on the internet and, oh, I like that picture I found on Pinterest, so I'm going to paint it. But I really didn't have a cohesive style. I painted some celebrity portraits, I painted some landscapes, I painted a little bit of everything, and it's hard for people to recognize your work as yours when you don't really have a clear or distinct voice, and it can take a long time to really find your voice as an artist. But the reason that I know that this has drastically helped the value of my artwork and helped my artwork sell and become perceived as so scarce is because I have people emailing me saying, I love your underwater portraits so much, I'm waiting for the next one. Or when someone purchases one of my newest underwater paintings, they will tell me, I've been waiting for you to post your next underwater painting. So it's the specific style that they have attached to my name now, which is kind of cool. All right, number 5 is that I got better. And this one, can only come with time. I would say subjectively, as a realism painter, my skills improved a lot in the last year. And whatever your art style, that might mean something different to you. I mean, if you're doing abstracts, I don't know how you objectively get better. I don't know what objectively getting better means for your art style. For me, for realism, it meant being able to accurately paint human facial features better. Like being able to paint a human face that looks like, if photographed, looks like a real person. And that has taken a lot of time and practice. But again, if I hadn't taken a year off of doing custom paintings, doing all these side little projects that took up all my time, I wouldn't have had the time to practice getting good at what I am good at painting. And I think this is very important because if you look at the top 1% in any field, in sports, in music, in dance, in acting, in art, the most successful and the richest performers in the world have become excellent at one thing. They're not good at 10 things. They have become the best of the best at one particular thing. So instead of spreading yourself so wide, instead of saying I want to do custom orders and I want to do paint classes and I want to do, for me, it meant I want to spend a year focusing on becoming excellent at what I paint. And so that helped me. I think also not relying on art for income for a year and just having a job allowed me to paint freely whatever I felt like on a whim, and it let me really wait for inspiration to strike. Okay, and then number 6 is, well, how did I raise my prices? I didn't just one day decide to post a painting for $4,000. I very methodically, over the past 6-9 months, have raised my prices. I always paint kind of the same size, okay? And I take about the same amount of time on each painting. So with each painting that I posted that sold right away, the next one I bumped it up by $200. And so I went from $1,200 to $1,400 to $1,600 to $1,800 to $2,000 to $2,200, $2,400, $2,600, $2,800, $3,000, $3,200, $3,400, $3,600. And then from there, I just sold my first $4,000 painting. And I wanted to do this methodically because I did not want to break the pattern of selling right away, because I feel like once you're on a roll and your clientele is seeing that your artwork is selling right away, which by the way, it can help a lot. I think it's important to post when your paintings sell. So I will post a painting for sale, and then once it sells, I post that sold, because you want to add value and you want to really make it clear that your artwork is scarce and that if people want a piece of your artwork, an original, they need to jump on it right away, or else they're going to miss out on the opportunity. It's basic supply and demand. Didn't think you'd be getting an economics lesson, did you? So I knew that I had to ride the wave of selling immediately. I didn't want to risk bumping my price up by $1,000 and then I break that wave, it doesn't sell, and suddenly the perceived value of my artwork plummets in everyone's minds, their perception. And somehow I've managed to keep riding this wave. We'll see, it could end any time. But if you find yourself on that wave of, hey, the last 3 paintings I've done have sold, I would encourage you to not let hubris get in your way. You know the story of dear Icarus in Greek mythology. Don't get so ambitious that you raise your price so much that the wave crashes, because then people will notice. And if people notice that your paintings are sitting on your website for 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, they will be in no rush to buy your newest painting. Anyways, so that's just my little 2 cents on that. So the biggest change overall in the last year is that somehow my perceived value as an artist increased. I think it's a perfect balance of finding my unique art style and then also the artist piece. My perceived value as an artist increased. And I think a lot of artists are really focused over here on improving their artwork, finding their style, painting the right thing, but they have not yet let the world know who they are as a person, as an artist. They haven't opened up their soul to the world. Or maybe they expect that, hey, when I share my artwork with the world, people will know my soul. They'll be able to look at the artwork and they'll know exactly who I am. And I would just like to remind you that for people who aren't artists, art can be very complex to decipher and pick apart, and maybe something that's obvious to you, that feels obvious to you, because I've had this happen where I'm like, it's so obvious what emotion drove this painting. And then I'll get a comment right away that's like, I love how this painting's about happiness. And I'll be like, what? That's not what it was about. So you can't always expect your artwork to tell your story for you. Sometimes you have to tell your story so that people can understand your artwork a little better. I mean, again, think about the famous artist in history, Salvador Dali. We are intrigued by him as a person, and by a result, our fascination with his work increases as well. We are intrigued by Van Gogh's story and the fact that he was in a mental hospital when he created a lot of these paintings, and that he cut his ear off, and by effect of being fascinated by him as a person, his artwork becomes far more intriguing to us. So my main advice to you as an artist, if you are selling your work and you're trying to raise your prices, you're trying to get those steady sales flowing, or you're trying to find your voice as an artist, I would encourage you to think about these 6 things that really changed for me this year. And also believe that what's happening to me can happen to you, because trust me, I would have never ever believed 3 years ago that my life would look the way it is right now. There were times when I was like, yep, it's time to give up this silly hobby and just grow up. Okay, I'm gonna just get a corporate job and climb the corporate ladder for 40 years and hate my life. And if I had given up and not believed that it was possible for someone like me, a teen mom, I wouldn't be living my dream life right now. I hope this was a helpful video for you, and I just want to thank you all so much. You, as my YouTube subscribers, have made my dreams come true, seriously. My life has changed drastically since I started this channel, so thank you so much. Now, good luck on your artist journeys. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and go get to painting.